We don't love intros, so I'm just going to say it. It's Lauren Duletzke.
I'm Jacki Gemelos.
And welcome to the Click Clack Podcast. I'm going to start by introducing my pod wife over here, Jacki Gemelos. I met Jacki at Nike, and she's had an incredible career. She was a pro athlete in the WNBA, #1 recruit out of high school. I mean, think about how many high schoolers there are. Went to USC, freaking killed it. Has had a long journey in basketball, went through a lot of injury, but got through that, and was one of the top, 30 recruits in the W. She played for a myriad of different teams, played overseas. She coached the New York Liberty in 2020. Is that right?
2021.
2021. I mean, come on, champs. That in large part, some of this over here. She has a beautiful fiance named Carla, who we will for sure have on the pod at some point. She's got Kardashian vibes to me. Gorgeous.
And literally, that's a compliment to her, but that's more of a compliment to me. When anyone says it, I'm just like, I know.
And Jacki's one of the best people I met. We met at Nike, and now she's a sports agent. She's representing a lot of incredible up-and-coming women's talent in the game across sports, and I'm just so excited to learn from her and with her and have some fun on this podcast.
How I met Lauren was at Nike. We both worked at Nike in the Nike Sport Research Lab.
Shout out to Labbies.
Yeah,
we love
for
you.
sure.
Lab rats.
Let's go.
Let's go. We're
Lauren,
basically scientists.
Yeah.
No, we're not. They were all going to judge us for saying that.
Yeah, no, I felt so weird walking in that office. I'm like, I am the least smartest person here, but that's fine. I brought a completely different dynamic to that office.
We just brought a different side of the brain to the team.
100%. They looked at me and they were like, she's a basketball player. What is she doing here? But that's fine.
They're like, no, but come test on the court, please.
Yeah. Come play me one-on-one and I'll show you what's good. Anyway, so what attracted me to Lauren was I felt like she was super authentic and very just herself in her space. I remember there was an empty desk, kind of behind me to the left, and it was just so sad over there. And then Lauren came, and she came on to Nike and just brought so much energy and passion to the office. And she was just loud and herself and just always fashionable, always beautiful, had a beat face every time I saw her. And I was just like, who is this woman? I want to get to know her. I want to say hello. I feel like we have so many interests, fashion interests and beauty interests. So I was very attracted to just wanting to get to know her, say what's up, and introduce myself. And I feel like from that moment on, we vibed, we clicked.
Click-clack.
Yeah, hashtag click-clack. Lauren walks into a room and she is who she is. And I feel like she doesn't conform to what's around her. And I think that that's so beautiful and amazing in someone who can do that and just own who they are. And that's not an easy thing to do. And I feel like that's something that a lot of people wish they could have. And Lauren is just that. And I think that that's why she's the ultimate boss bitch.
Thanks, girl.
So Lauren, what is the goal for Click Clack? What does it mean to you? And what do you want out of this podcast?
So I just left my job at Nike, which was really hard. And I spent the last 2 years there. And during that time, I was seeing something really happen in women's sports. And I had the great fortune of working with you and others who played in women's sports. And just also my first year I was at Nike, I was sponsored to go to the ESPNW Summit. It literally changed my life in a lot of ways because
it's coming up soon again.
Yeah. And I would love to, my dream one day would be to be on a panel because not really from the sport point of view, but more from the fan and helping bring in a whole new consumer into women's sports. That's really where I feel like I can be the greatest advocate because I'm not someone who wakes up in the morning and I'm like, what are the game stats? Who won what?
Right.
But sport is everywhere. It inspires so much of our lives. And it's also one of those things in such a divisive world that brings people together. Where countries will play against each other, but from a geopolitical perspective, won't talk. That is wild to me that sport has the ability to bring people together like that. So for me, being a woman, being very passionate about women's issues and topics, about 4 months ago when I really started to see the media pick up and, Caitlin Clark came on the scene and Angel Reese and Cameron Brink and all these just amazing women, but also seeing that there were so many more sides to them than I had maybe ever thought of a women's player, which is honestly my own fault, right? One of the things we like to say is women don't want to be put in buckets. We like making them, but we don't want to be put in a bucket. And I think for a long time, which you could probably speak about this more eloquently than me from real life experiences, like people kind of put you in a bucket, right?
As a professional basketball player, we oftentimes get put into a box
Or a bucket. Sorry, I had to.
Yeah, and we're just kind of seen as basketball players, and that's it. But I do think that so many women are so much more, than just who they are in their sport, and there's more to their identity than just that. As I've gotten older, I've really been able to express those things through fashion, through beauty, through different things.
I mean, we met through beauty. Like not
100%.
sport, not work, we were just like, what's on your skin? I don't know. What's on your skin? It looks amazing. I mean, that was our literal first connection point.
Right. And then just there's so many things that, transition from being a player into business, and, all these things that we learn in our sport absolutely translate, to business and to life after basketball as well.
The moment that was the tipping point for me, where I knew I wanted to dedicate this next chapter of my career to helping bring a whole new consumer into women's sports from my point of view, is Angel Reese at the Met Gala. She's like an icon for me now because I just love how authentic she is. I love that she is so fierce on the court. She's an unbelievable athlete. But then she goes to the Met Gala, gets dressed by Anna Wintour, and everybody's giving her shit for not like practicing in the gym or going, getting ready for her game.
Right.
And then she comes out and she's like, to the media directly, women are not one dimensional. If I want to go to the Met Gala and then go play my game, like that is my choice. And that was a huge light bulb for me, because for me, I resonated with her so much through the fashion beat of like everything she wears. I'm like, oh my God, who's that? Who's that designer? Oh my God, she just looks amazing. And she's just this incredible dimensional woman. And I there's so many women in the league like that, whether they're, celebrating more of the feminine style or not. Like, I just love the way women players are showing up and just being who they are. And that finally the media is starting to pay attention, and therefore consumers are paying attention. And so my goal is to really build a platform here with Click Clack where we're bringing two sides of the coin as far as sport, because I'm a fan, you're a player. You have such a different experience than me. And sport makes people better. And so again, going back to my experience and aligning myself to places and spaces that make people better, I want to lend my skills to that. And I want to bring in women like me who maybe haven't really seen themselves in elite sport, and bring in a completely new wave of consumer. Girls that weren't watching sport before. Like, let's get these ladies watching sport, tuning into the games, going to the games. So that's why we're building this podcast in a lot of ways. Is like, one, we want to talk about women's issues because we're both women. We care deeply about a lot of different things, and that there's a lot of dimensions of us. But also, we want to build a space where sport becomes even more relatable for people.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just fun.
To your point, though, I think like the tunnel walks and these women that show up, wearing their heels, wearing, having long nails, or just really
And the lashes.
Yeah, their lashes.
I'm wearing lashes
like,
right now.
It's really brought in, like you said, a different consumer to the game, but it's still not at a place where like it could be.
Oh.
But there has been a
Huge.
lot of light that's been shed on the WNBA in particular because of, the Angel Reeses, the Dejanay Carringtons, all these like phenomenal basketball players, but also just, fashion icons in a sense as well.
Yeah, and I just think that, if we know that girls drop out of sport more than boys do. And I do think from some things I've been seeing out there, the scales are starting to tip a little bit. But we know we need to keep our girls in sport. And there's a lot of different things. And that's something at Nike that I deeply cared about when we talked about those issues and those topics. And there's a lot of people at Nike spending a ton of energy and time doing that. But I hope this podcast can be a place where girls get inspired to play sport at any level, with any capacity. I love seeing these women succeed on these major global, platforms. And so, that's what Click Clack is here to do. It's a metaphor for women, click clack, heels on a court. Get it? It's kind of cute, kind of silly. But I also love wearing heels. I'm short. Heels make me feel more confident, but it's not meant to just be a heel. It's meant to show the dimensionality of women and all we're here to do and how we show up to the world.
So I think what Click Clack means to me is, instead of a heel, I wear sneakers. And I've been a sneaker girl through and through, born and raised a tomboy, but was always kind of not confident enough to fully express myself. And then when I came to the WNBA, I felt like I had a platform to really be able to show up authentically as who I am. And I think it ties back to, a very vivid memory of when I was in college, and I was really kind of shy and ashamed to be who I was as this tomboy, because I was still afraid of, showing other people who I truly was. And then when I got to the WNBA, I just saw all these other incredible women around me that were showing up, in baggy pants and sneakers and just really honing in on who they were. And I felt like that gave me so much more confidence to really find who I was and be able to express that in ways that like I didn't really know how to do before that. So thank you to the WNBA and all these incredible athletes that really, sparked that for me and was able to bring that out of me.
I think that's why we are coming together to do this podcast, because we want to show that you can dress however you want. You can be whoever you are. You can show up like me, a little bougie ass bee with your heels and your little flashy jackets and your jewelry, or you can show up like you looking fucking fierce in your sneakers with your combat. And I mean, you just look fucking fly. So it's just like, you can show up however you want. Right. And that's why we why we have this unlock of why we need to do this podcast, because we can bring really different points of view to the table, but find that intersectionality, because we're both women. We identify as women. And I feel like we live in a world where women have to see the different dimensions that are us. Like, stop putting us in goddamn buckets. So when we talk about being a multidimensional woman, what does that actually mean? It's an opportunity for us to shed light on all the different aspects that make up being a woman in today's world, from our careers to our personal lives, our family lives, our passions, our hobbies, things that get us mad, things that get us happy and excited, bring us joy. How can we celebrate all of those different dimensions that make us who we are? Because one thing we want to bring to the table here is that even though we might be really different than our listeners, we can bring topics and things that make you feel part of this community, and that we have a lot more in common than you would think.
Lauren, you're a badass in comms and marketing. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I've spent the last 15 years primarily in PR roles, marketing roles, working for Fortune 50 companies like Nike and representing Microsoft through their agency of record, but also helping grow companies. So I spent about 6.5, almost 7 years at a company called Cricut. I just feel so passionately now that it's about really aligning my talents to create platforms where people feel there's like an authentic space for them to come, giving them education and tools that I've had in my career to just improve their lives, even if it's one person. One person. And so I've had just a great opportunity to work across the marketing funnel. I've built brands. I've been on national TV, which was wild. Hey, girl, Kelly Clarkson. Love you, girl. I've worked with celebrity spokespeople. I mean, I've just had the opportunity to really work with a lot of different dimensions of people. And I think people are why I get up in the morning, and the quality of my relationships.
Your resume is badass, for sure.
I also have the very important job of being a mother. I have a 5-year-old and a 2.5-year-old, almost 3, and they're the best things I've ever made.
They're adorable.
They are. They test me every single day. They are the best and the worst of me. No, I'm just kidding. No, but they are just wonderful. And I'm really trying to figure out how to come into my own as someone who has passions beyond just being a mother. And that's something I'm going to be really honest about on this podcast, is just being more than a mom. But my kids are a huge part of my identity, and I love them so much.
Yeah. I think that's interesting that you say that, because when I think about you, I think first, like, you're a boss in what you do in your work, because that's how I met you. And then I see you as a wife, and then I see you as a mother, like in that order, which is like, and I'm not just saying that.
I'm going to get emotional on this podcast. There's going to be some tears. I'll go get my kids' wipes, and we'll have them on the table.
We have wipes all over this place, I'm sure.
There's hella wipes all over. So I just have to say I'm unbelievably inspired by the life you've lived so far, and just also how humble and wonderful of a person you are. And so help help everybody understand what shaped you. How did you even get into the WNBA?
Yeah. Well, I would credit my parents a lot, especially my dad. He played at a high level. He played at Weber State. They were a Sweet 16 team when he played. He was an amazing player.
Go, Dad.
Yeah. And he was also the first Greek American to play on a Greek team in Greece. We're Greek also. Like, shout out to my Greeks. To me, I think between him and my mom, there was such a balance there. My dad was like very on me and my sister at a very young age to just be on our shit 24/7. And then my mom was a little bit more soft and just kind of like that balance that we had, which was really great. But we picked up a ball when we were 7 years old, and my dad turned us into little tomboys at such a young age. We played every single sport that you can imagine. My dad's influence on basketball is what really made me want to stick with basketball, because I was so, just wanted to make him proud. And I felt like that like really made him tick is when I played basketball, and I started to become really good at basketball. And then my sister was always better than me in everything growing up, even in sports. So I think as the little sister, that like really inspired me to want to be better and to be great. And she was also just so smart. Like, she's a doctor now. Like, she went in a completely
Shout out to the docs out there.
Yeah, she went in a completely different, place in her life. But I think just like her impact on me as a young kid, just always wanted to be better than her at everything, is why I became such a good basketball player.
I love that. Sister rivalries.
It's true though. As the younger sister, the younger sibling, like, you always want to be better than your older sibling, I think.
What other sports did you guys play growing up? I'm just so curious. Like,
So
I'm like thinking about my daughter. I'm like, so does Haley have to start basketball? I'm like, does she need to pick up a ball when she's 7?
I mean, it's a good age. Like, I think starting early, you just pick up so many fundamental like values that apply on the court and off the court. You learn how to play within a team. You learn how to communicate with your teammates and your coaching staff. You learn to listen, because if you don't listen, like, you're on the line, you're going to be running suicides. So there's just
You're going to make your team run 5 miles. That's like was my biggest fear in sports, is like, I'm going to mess up and then my coach is going to be like, hey, everybody has to now run a mile or run 5 laps. Or,
oh yeah, no.
And I was like, oh, I don't want to be that person.
The word that you hate in basketball is suicide. Like, once you hear suicide, you're on the line, you're running. So when I was in 6th grade, I tried out for my sister's, like, the older team's basketball team. I was told that I wasn't good enough. This was my sister's team. So I was like devastated that I wasn't going to get.
Wait, what? You were told you weren't good enough?
In 6th grade, I was told I wasn't good enough to play.
That just pissed you off.
To play in 7th grade, like the 7th grade team. So it was a grade above me. But yeah, it pissed me off. I was fucking livid. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, because you're like hella competitive.
Girl, we don't even need to get into that. I'm so competitive. It's like uncomfortable.
We're going to get into it. We're going to play a game of Jenga or some shit on this podcast.
Yeah, girl, get ready to lose. Okay. Just saying.
I see you. I'm fucking good at Jenga. Anyway, sorry.
You might be, but we'll see. So I think from that moment on, I was like, okay, I need to make a decision. Like, how do I want to be great at this sport and this one thing? My dad convinced the coach at the time to get me on the team and to let me be on the team. By 7th grade, I was starting, and by 8th grade, I was considered one of the top players in California for my age group.
That's insane.
So,
what year was that?
When I was in 8th grade.
So what, like 2014? 2015?
No, that was way before then.
Oh, whoa. I graduated in 2011,
yeah,
so
like,
wow.
Well, girl, we're the same age.
God,
You're way off on
so
those years.
old.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was like, fuck, I don't even know.
It was like ancient
This is how you know
times.
you're
We're
old.
fossils, so we need to just leave that in the back. Like, we don't need to talk about that. So when I got to high school, I was on the varsity team. I was considered the top player in my class, the number 1 player in the country in high school. Had a really good career, averaged 40 points a game.
Holy
yeah,
shit.
I was a big scorer, Miss Basketball California.
What was your position again?
I was a shooting guard, but I played a lot of point guard. So I won 2 state championships in high school at St. Mary's. And then I went on to play at the University of Southern California, got my master's degree at USC. I tore my ACL for the first time the last game of my senior year in high school, which forced me to sit out my first year and redshirt. And then I consecutively tore my ACL 4 times after that. So I dealt with a lot of adversity and a lot of injury in college that really hindered my college career, and I was only able to play in 56 games. But nonetheless, I was fortunate enough and lucky enough, and I guess somewhat good enough to still get drafted. I was the 31st overall pick to the Minnesota Lynx in the 3rd round. I was injured at the time. I had just torn my ACL a couple months before that, so they took a major chance on me. But I think that they took that chance on me because of how big my name was in high school and, just the idea or the thought of me hopefully coming around and, you know, regaining the strength in my knee to be good again, to be that great again. So I tried out the next year. It was the first time in my life that I didn't make a team. And that was like a realization of like, is this still for me? Is basketball still going to be, you know, what I'm going to do and what I'm going to try and strive for in my future? And my dream was to play in the WNBA. So I just really was inspired by that in a way, but also just like very taken back because I had never been told that I wasn't good enough.
That must have been really hard.
It was hard, but it was like, it helped me grow and it kind of helped me put myself in my place. Like, you're not as good as you used to be. You have a lot to do in order to get at that level. So I went overseas. I played in Athens, Greece my first year, which was really just a full circle moment.
Yeah.
And the first team that we played against was my dad's club, Sporting.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's
so
crazy.
It was a really incredible story. It was just such a touching point in my career. So fast forward, I had a 10-year overseas and WNBA career. I made my first WNBA roster in 2015 for the Chicago Sky. One of the most monumental times in my basketball career. Finally, you know, made my dream come true. So I felt like everything that I put in, all the hard work and setbacks, you know, that I had in my career really paid off in 2015. Playing overseas, just giving me so much different perspective on life, and just, it was absolutely amazing playing over there. You know, really just honing into the culture and eating the food and trying to speak the languages and trying to, you know, grocery shop at grocery stores. And
can I ask you a question that I'm just genuinely curious about? But just from observationally, it felt like, or just what I heard in the media, that a lot of women players were going overseas to play to make more money in the off season because the women don't make enough money. We know that. It's a major problem.
Right.
But you talking about your overseas experiences just adds like a new dimension for me of the value of doing that, because we all know when we travel, we're better people. When we see other cultures, other experiences, other lifestyles, it's just, it's soul food. It makes us better people. So how do you reconcile that with the hope one day that women players make more money, and then maybe they're not going overseas as much, but it sounds like that really shaped who you are.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm a sports agent now, and I strongly encourage my clients to go overseas and to get that experience and to be able to immerse themselves into different cultures and learn how to be adaptive in different places, but not only for life, but for basketball too, because it's such a different game out there. They play with their head. It's not, you know, athleticism, quickness, speed, skill, where it is here in America. It's more, you have to know the game and really use your brain in different ways. So I think that when you tie both of those leagues together, it only makes you that better of a player.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, WNBA salaries are not where they should be right now, which we'll get into, you know, further in different episodes.
Let's just talk about the fact that most salaries for women are not where they need to be right now. Like, I want to address that as a larger topic generally, especially in sport. It's a massive issue, and I hope sport can be a catalyst for helping drive pay equity across the board.
Yeah.
And it's been I would say the most underserved, but the most probably biggest opportunity as far as revenue for the country, and for the world. So something I feel very passionate about. I'm sure you do too.
Yes, for sure. So to your point, I think less women are going overseas now because there's not as big of a need. There are so many more opportunities that are happening on the marketing side for women. There's other leagues that have been brought into this world. Unrivaled is one of them, Athletes Unlimited, and a number of others. But there's more opportunities here in the off season for WNBA players, so that they don't have to go there and miss out on, you know, holidays with their families and just being completely detached from family and friends over here, which is,
I can imagine that's hard.
Yeah, I mean, it was an absolute like struggle, and you know, you feel very alone out there at times, but you try and stay as connected with your people on FaceTime and the phone, you know, as much as possible. But it's just something that you have to deal with and live with in order to excel and continue moving forward in your career as a women's basketball player. After basketball, I coached for one season with the New York Liberty in 2021. I knew I didn't want to be a coach, so I wanted to shift and do something completely different. So I decided to go the corporate route. I entered into a program called the WIN program. It stands for Women in Nike. It's a partnership that the WNBA did with Nike to employ former WNBA players to have corporate positions at Nike. Was there for about 2.5 years. And then I felt like I wanted more and I wanted to be more embedded into the women's game, women's basketball. So I decided to shift and become a sports agent and team up with my longtime agent, Allison Gaylor.
You know that I've been researching this, a lot of women founders, like badass women, like Vera Wang, like Ariana Huffington, they didn't even start their careers until they were like almost 40.
Oh my gosh. I saw a similar thing, like Christian Dior, the founder of Amazon, a couple other founders that were like in their mid to late 40s or like even like 50s. When they started like these huge businesses.
And you know why? Because people don't know shit until they're almost 40.
Yeah.
That's what I truly believe.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, Mark Zuckerberg, I see you, whatever. You made Facebook in college. Good for you.
Yeah.
But like, I truly believe I'm finally becoming a person and I'm like, 36. I'm closer to 40 than 30. And I feel like every day I'm just looking at the world just a little bit differently.
Totally.
And so now I'm like, okay, what can we build that's going to have a long-term impact? Those are the micro impacts, especially in this divisive world we live in, that make such a difference. So I think we're going to talk about a lot of things on this podcast because we have a lot of ideas. We want to listen to our audience. We want to listen to what we care about, what our communities care about. But I would say our main 3 beats are really women's sports, business, and culture, and really finding all of those interesting intersection points across those things. Some episodes may lean a little heavier on the sports side. We'll talk about beauty probably the whole time because it's something we both love. I mean, It's like we said, it's literally how we met. And so I think we want to talk about topics that women care about, but really women's sports is kind of the anchor to a lot of those things because it's what's really close to our hearts and what we care about, both from your personal experience, from me wanting to raise a daughter and a son who are really active in sport, because we also know sport makes people better. Like there's most successful people in the world, there's a lot of data and studies around this, have played sport.
Right.
Or gone to that upper echelon of sport into pro sports. So there's just so much value in sport, but we want to just talk about it a little differently than maybe we've seen it out there right now. Tell me, Jack, an example of like something you're just really excited to talk about and go a little deeper on.
Yeah, no, I think after I stopped playing is when I really took more serious like my beauty like aspect of things.
Why is that after you played?
Because I think that I started to get into fitness and started to doing different things that weren't like actually bouncing a ball. So it was like, okay, I found fitness after sport, but then I also found like, okay, I really want to take care of myself. And, my body changed a little bit and things started to shift in a way that I was like very unsure of. So I think that's why I really wanted to hone in on like skincare and makeup and just certain things that made me feel good, even Botox. Like I think I just took a deep dive into all of that because I wanted to feel good about myself and I wanted to figure out like how I could feel, pretty and all these things after playing basketball and making sure that I stayed looking young and, all these things. So
you look so young. Girl, your skin is amazing.
Thanks. So is yours. You have amazing skin.
I mean, the Botox, but also the red light mask lately,
oh my
which
God.
you got me into. Now I'm freaking obsessed.
Yeah, but it's just like taking care of yourself feels good.
It does.
And I think that when you take care of yourself, you're just like, you feel better internally, not only externally, but like you just, inside something hits different.
That's what I always, there was a short stint where I worked at a kind of upscale consignment shop just to meet people when I was in Utah. And one of the things I found, a lot of women would come in and they were just so afraid to try on things that felt so outside of their comfort zone. Mm-hmm. And I was like, my job there was obviously to sell stuff, but also just to help make them feel comfortable to try something new. And I found with a lot of these consumers or these women, was that when they tried on something that they would never pick off the rack themselves, it sort of opened the aperture of their mind of what they look good in and feel confident in. And it just completely changed their tone in the store.
Right.
So I think the more we can have an open mind and like push ourselves a little bit, like that confidence feels so good. And I'm totally one for aesthetics. Like my best friend said something to me once that really stuck with me, like to this day, which is you should never try and cover up your beauty, but if you want to accentuate that beauty, go for it.
Right.
Shout out Marissa, I love you. And yeah, I totally resonate with that.
Yeah. No, I think even before we started this podcast, you were putting makeup on me, and I had never experienced whatever you did, like the
highlighter.
The highlighter.
Oh, girl,
and I'm
gonna
go
do
get
your
some
whole full
highlighter now.
face. I'm gonna like give you a full.
That's fine.
But you have the most unbelievable skin, though.
No, I don't.
But like, you just need to like, you can like accentuate that beauty just in a really natural way.
But to your point, being open-minded, I think, is key.
Yeah, totally. I love to take risks with fashion because for me, I always felt like, I was kind of maybe discouraged from going like the traditional art road. And this is when digital arts were starting to emerge. And I definitely love digital arts, like big fan. And now with AI, I'm actually seeing things get created that I could never make. But I really use my body as a canvas. And I have a lot of tats. We're going to have a tattoo artist probably on someday to talk about tats, trends in tats. But I just think like now it's really acceptable to use your body more as a canvas. And as women, we need to keep doing that and showing what we stand for, showing the things we love, be bold, be colorful. That's super important. Or, take it easy if we need to.
What's the most risky thing that you've done, like appearance-wise? Like it could be fashion, tattoo, like whatever.
Damn. That's a good question. I mean, I have a half sleeve, which...
That's pretty risky. If
you knew how I grew up, you would be like, huh? That's crazy. And people are always shocked when they learn I have a lot of tattoos. Like I had someone once, she literally asked me every time I saw her and she'd like see my tattoo exposed. She'd be like, I didn't know you had a tattoo. You have a tattoo? I'm like, girl, I have worn freaking t-shirts in this office 1,000 times. Like, why are you so surprised by this? And then I told her, you know what? My body's my canvas. And she just started laughing at me. And I was like, okay. But it was in love, right?
Yeah,
it was in a loving way. But yeah, I think probably like getting my first like half sleeve was really big. And then, I just like take a lot of risks on my fashion. Like I'll bring some of my crazy ass looks onto this podcast.
I need to stay far away from those personally. I've had some times.
I've had some really poor choices with fashion, but like really poor choices. But yeah, I've taken big risks with fashion. And I think it's also a big part of my identity. You would never know that from my resume or looking at my background, but it's something that I care deeply about.
Yeah.
Because it's how you show up to the world. It's your artistic format.
I think you have some edge to you for sure. Like you're edgy.
Some edge. I'm freaking edgy.
I'm
an edgy ass mom over here.
Yeah.
Go girl.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, first we just want to thank you all for this is our first episode. We're getting we're just kind of getting started. We just really want to build an audience that loves to hang with us. Like we want you to like feel like you're in the room with us and just like thank you for being here and listening all the way. But mama's freaking hungry, and dad took the kids out. Dad's took the kids out so that we could record and film. Thank you, Nick. I love you. And so
I love you too, Nick.
I know he loves you too. And I just want to DoorDash some Mexican food because it's my favorite cuisine. Also, one of my lashes feels like it's getting a little topsy-turvy, so I need to fix that. So yeah, that's I think we're gonna wrap it up.
I totally feel that. I need to hit the Taco Bell drive-thru on my way
Wait
home.
a minute. You're gonna say no to me buying you really good Mexican food and then you're gonna go to Taco Bell?
Because I'm just like, I need to be in and out, grab my Taco Bell bean and cheese burrito.
Oh, damn, girl.
No sauce, no
Not even
onions.
Chipotle? You won't even like upgrade to a Chipotle?
I mean, I'm good. Like, I love me some Taco Bell.
I will say there is nothing like being hungover and having Taco Bell. It's been like years since I've done that.
Yeah.
Remember their Crunchwrap Supremes?
So fucking good.
Do they have those still?
Yeah, it came back.
Fuck, maybe I should have one.
Yeah. No, you should. I can go get you one.
No, that's so nice of you. I'm going to have my Guero, my bougie Mexican food.
Guero's really good.
It's so good. Shout out to Guero. Your bowls are your chips, perfect amount of salt, and fluffy. They're like crunchy fluff.
I feel like we're just like, the listeners are hanging on by a thread right now because I know we're leaving. So
we love you all.
Yeah, we want to thank you guys. Appreciate you for listening.
We out.
Peace.
Peace.